So welcome everybody to the anniversary of the inauguration of the Pitlochry Highland Games in 1852. We are looking forward to a crowd of maybe 5,000 people.
So what we've got here is one of the cameras that's been providing coverage at the Highland Games. So this is the camera just doing its thing as normal. There's an SDI cable coming out and feeds down to an encoder, which is on the floor here. The video feed from the encoder is then sent out over USB up to our 5G UE, which you can see mounted on the top of the camera. That of course then fires off to our 5G base station, goes through the network, out the user plane, and then makes its way to our video decoding car. But this is the back of our broadcast car, if you like. Inside this box there is a decoder, and that is converting the video streams from an IP video stream back to SDI again. We've then got that connected into a multiviewer and just some monitors so we can see what's going on. And then we pass those 4 SDI streams over to QTV.
Coming to camera 1-on-1, just as soon as we close shot, coming to 1-on-1.
From our perspective, it's been really exciting to be part of the 5G process. And it's been really simple as well. It's been almost a complete straight swap out from a setup point of view. We've arrived and we've had a very quick rig, and within moments we can be on air. We've managed to integrate it with our software vision mixer, and with the low latency, it really assists the creative process to allow a natural directing experience. We've also got the added benefit over RF, which allows us to add data on top of standard video frequencies. This has allowed us to add talkback and potentially tallies over the 5G network as well.
Good afternoon and welcome to this session on 5G remote production in the middle of nowhere. Let's introduce the team behind this project. And it really follows the work of the Accelerator over the last few years, looking at 5G in remote production. The first stage we looked at what we might do over a public mobile network. So we worked with VodafoneZiggo here in Amsterdam in 2020. And the last 2 years, we've been working with both large manufacturers, but also a really amazing solution that's been developed here by the University of Strathclyde, which is in Glasgow in Scotland, which is a private 5G network in a box. Which means that I think we can go to Scotland and we can talk to Professor Robert Stewart, Bob, who actually is in Pitlochry, and he's going to talk us through some of these things. Hoping you can hear me there, Bob. Hoping you can hear me.
Welcome to the Pitlochry Highland Games. We're live here in Scotland. It's absolutely fantastic weather. This has been a fantastic event. We hope you've seen some of the live feeds we've been sending over to RAI in Amsterdam, and you've partaken in some observation of caber tossing and some of the Highland dancing and the other Scottish sports. Of course, it's really for us to tell us a little bit about the tech and what we're up to. So I'm actually going to pass to Kenny Barlee. He's our lead engineer here from StrathSDR and Neutral Wireless. So Kenny, could I just pass to you to tell us what's going on?
Thanks. Okay, so here we've got a 5G standalone N77 radio network set up, and that's operating in the frequency 3950 megahertz. We're using a 100 megahertz wide channel with heavy uplink biasing. So we've basically got 7 slots uplink, 2 slots downlink. And that, combined with the quality of service settings we've configured in our user plane, basically means that it is very heavily optimized for uplink video. Now, our cell can do about 350 megabits per second in uplink. So if you think about that in terms of the number of camera feeds, you can do the maths there. So we've assembled some 5G UEs and attached these to encoders, which are located at each of the cameras. And these UEs are also providing a bubble of Wi-Fi, which each of the camera operators in your headsets are attached to for comms. Now, the video is encoded at 1080p and then sent across our 5G network. And that breaks out in our car, which has got the decoders and the vision mixers in it. And we've been sending the multiviewer with the 4 camera feeds and also the program feed out to you in Amsterdam. So hopefully you've been able to see that today. Now, we are in a field. There's no fiber backhaul here. There's no copper backhaul either. So we're bonding 2 Starlink and 2 MNO SIMs. And combining all of that together, we're able to get a decent high uplink throughput and get a good resiliency as well.
So Mark, I'll just hand back to you, and that's us from the middle of nowhere in Scotland. So what we have here is we've got a spectrum analyzer. It's using the RFSoC 4x2 board from AMD's Xilinx, and we've got 2 analog channels live at the moment, so we can go right across from 0 to 4 gigahertz. So we're just looking at some of the mobile bands, just some interest what we have in this rural area in terms of mobile coverage. And then we're working in N77 up at 3.9 gigahertz with our 100 megahertz channel. So we're just looking to monitor and see what type of levels we're getting.
The system is software based, it's so flexible that we can actually customize it for any specific use case, whatever vertical it is. I mean, we've done this in Kenya, we've gone to New Zealand, we've been to Ireland, you know, I mean, name it. So it's absolutely amazing what we've done, and it shows the possibility of what 5G can actually make happen. I'm looking forward to seeing all of it.
So I'd like to introduce, first of all, these are all of the companies that have been involved in this project. Now, way too many to mention, but you can see the champions I talked about. Strathclyde University here have been one of the champions. We've had support from the Scotland 5G Centre. Neutral Wireless is the commercial spin-off from the University of Strathclyde. We've got BBC and BTSport and BT Media and Broadcast and RTE from Ireland and TV2 and Warner Brothers Discovery and Olympic Broadcasting and Paramount. Those are the champions. What a lineup of amazing household names that are champions. And then the participants, AMD, you just heard from John, Microsoft have been involved in this project, Vislink, who bought Mobile Viewpoint, Net Insight, AWS, Haivision, Zigzee, Newlink. We've had others like the Interim Maori Spectrum Commission in New Zealand, which actually owns 20% of the spectrum there, and Singular Live on the graphics side. And partners at QTV in Scotland, What's Good Media in Kenya, Wakata Maori TV in New Zealand, and in Ireland RT, our production partners. So fantastic to see you all here, and I'd like to welcome you to IBC. And I'd like basically to take us through some of the things that we've been doing. Matt, why don't you just talk a little bit, because I think we need to provide some context of where we've come from here. And you've been doing some very specific work on trialing this private 5G network.
Yes, thanks for everyone for turning up. So we were very early adopters of 5G, mainly because we had a lot of access to pre-standards, because we were part of BT Group, and they have the UK's biggest 5G provider. So, but we realized that we weren't going to be able to entrust our production to a network that everybody else shares, especially when you start to look at high footfall stadiums. Everybody is doing what people do. They're filming personal broadcasts, sending stuff. Files are getting massive because cameras are getting a lot more pixels. So we thought that maybe there was talk of network slicing, where operators could cut a virtual piece at the network, and sort of that's yours, BTSport or BBC. That hasn't come along, and actually, even when the feature's there in the network, it might not make commercial sense. So we really wanted to move on. We had the best, as an industry, most well-defined network. We wanted uplink, and we wanted someone to sign off an SLA. You know, really, I don't care about anything else. They can do it with smoke and mirrors, but that's our requirement. So then we saw the guys, Malcolm does the smoke and mirrors. And so, so we took, in the UK now, and many other geographies, the operators freed up some spectrum. So actually, we're not now at the behest of a mobile operator wanting to engage with us, you know, and that's understandable. You know, that it might not be in money, but 5G cameras are perfect for not just your lack of rigging time, but it gives our directors freedom of, you know, creative freedom to go and move anything. So we tried it at Silverstone for the MotoGP. That was more of we were just going to send out on the bikes and see if it worked. It's going to
be behind the scenes trial.
Yes, yeah, just to see how it goes. And then we used some of that footage, but then we went in and did a full production of Premier League rugby, Saracens versus Sale Sharks, I think. And that was exactly that. So we had the 5G network in a box, plugged in. We had access straight out of the truck into the cloud, and we did some cloud-based production, which we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And it's, you know, it is, now it's here. You know, people are going, where do we buy it?
BBC, and I'm sorry, I did forget to give your title, and you are the senior. You are the technology transfer and partnerships manager with the Edge leader of the Edge group, I think, with BBC. Is that right?
Correct. Absolutely for the BBC, for all of the reasons that Matt's just laid out, having access to a network that's kind of ring-fenced in terms of production security, guaranteed upload speeds is absolutely what we need, and being able to just, deploy that. Being involved with the Accelerators since 2020, this project this year was absolutely a natural sort of outcome and progression of where we got to in the 2 previous years, and it's been really exciting to see that, genesis of it developing.
And you've been working within... Let's run through the workflow at high level first, and then the individual use cases, Malcolm.
So, wireless cameras, microphones, anything you can that runs over UDP or TCP/IP, run them out in your network. You can deploy. There's a 4U flight case being dragged through London. That's the base station. Out the back of the base station, we actually can split. We have a CUPS, control and user plane separation on-prem or in the location that we're making our production from. Backhaul could be, as we've been saying, fiber, Starlink, maybe whatever we can get our hands on, and actually blend it, bond it, and then once we're out of the venue, we can land in the cloud or land directly as we are today at your where you want to kind of display, or MCR. Let's go next door our MCR.
What are the core ingredients you need? So you mentioned Spectrum, you've got your private 5G network, and what does that consist of?
From the sort of private 5G perspective, what we're doing, as Malcolm has sort of described, is creating that sort of closed network, operating on whatever frequency band that we manage to get from the regulator to do that. That allows us the control that we can have, as Malcolm alluded to making sure that we control who has access to that. But in this type of use case, in the broadcast use case, we have further control, software-defined radio, so we can actually configure the network to be much more uplink biased, more uplink centric, which is absolutely critical for the sort of performance and throughputs that we would need from the sort of mobile broadcast community. And then, you put that into the context of you've got this sort of self-contained network interacting with user equipment, with cameras that are coming through that, which is fine if you're keeping that local. But then what happens when you actually want to get that sort of feed back out into the wider community, which is where some other sort of transport medium is required for backhaul.
That's the end of our day at the Pitlochry Highland Games. It's been an absolutely fantastic day, beautiful sunshine, a little bit cloudy now, but it really has been brilliant. We've shown everything we wanted to do, the backhaul and the Starlinks and the mobile networks. We got the 5G private network up and running in N77, we had the 4 cameras on, everything worked as we hoped. We got those live feeds through to Amsterdam and the IBC show, so it really has been fantastic, and a big thank you to everyone that's helped make this happen.